Hi and welcome to this Fusion 360 for 3D printing. So in this kind of guides, I was asked to do some guides because there's a lot of you that want to do that. So the goal here is that you should probably just try out Fusion, like tinker it a little bit, navigate a little bit, and maybe spend an hour or so before you start with this tutorial. We're not going to go through all the menu systems or explain how it's all made, but we're going to do a model and we're going to do it together. So for this first project, I'm going to do something kind of typical, something small, something easy, something that we start off with and that we can print at home. So the goal is that if you don't want to do exactly the same thing as I'm doing, I recommend you to look around in your home or in your office and see if there's something that you can fix or just something that you can remodel. So in my case, I'm going to take one of these, the bike flashlights that I have. It's a pretty strong light, pretty good. Sorry about that. And the goal here is to create a new mount for this one. I already have an mount for it somewhere, but I think I lost it. So I'm just going to go based on the grooves here that are available. So I'm going to model this and I'm going to make it easy enough that we can 3D print it fairly quickly, hopefully in some stronger material since this weighs a little bit. So before we go ahead, I just want to show you a few things that I think about when I'm doing 3D printing. So we want to start off with the biggest shape, and in my case, I need to do a little bit of measurements first. So let's see what we have. We have two grooves that goes in that this light kind of slots into, and those grooves are 14.2 millimeters wide overall, and we have an overall length of 26 millimeters. So again, starting off with the biggest measurements, we'll do that. We'll create a new sketch here in Fusion 360. It's important here as well to be in the model category, otherwise we'll start to do strange things. Start a sketch. I'm going to start off just here. And I want to draw a rectangle, and I'm actually going to go down here and make a center rectangle because I know my measurements. So first off, I'm going to just double check here. We had, again, I'm going to zero this one out. We had a measurement of 14.2 millimeters wide, so 14.2. Just for the sake of it, I'm going to use it in this dimension instead. So that didn't go well, but the good thing in Fusion is that I can now just double click on this measurement and we'll set that to the second one, which is 26 millimeters. So there we go. So now we have our base to work with really. And what I can do with this is that I will start by extruding it. So I know that I have a thickness here that I'm going to work with. So I'm gonna try to measure the small grooves, see how small they are. They are around 2 millimeters, and then we have a thickness that is around 1.8. So 2 millimeters, 1.8 equals 3.8. Great, now we have the big measurement as well. Fairly easy, nothing advanced there. Now we want to do the profile here, so we want to start off with, it's very difficult for you guys to see, I know that, but the goal here is now to make the slot that goes in. So again, we'll start a new sketch from here, and in this case, as I said, we had a groove that went 2 millimeters up, so we're gonna type in 2 millimeters. Press enter, repeat that line, and we also had it went inside here, and that's I didn't measure, so let's do that. That's gonna be around 1.8 millimeters. Just drag that down. I know that is squared, so let's do it like that. And what we can do now is that we create a little small line over here because I want to do a mirrored. So I'm gonna select these 4 lines that I created, And under sketch, there's a tool called mirror. Now I've actually used my little tool areas to move them up to my sketchboard. So I have some of the most useful tools that I use all the time. And we're going to click on mirror. I have those selected, so you can see over here that we have 3 objects selected. We'll choose a mirror line, and in this case I just created a small line that we can use for that. So there we go, and we click enter, and we now have 2 squares here that I can start to move away. So we're gonna go almost all the way, and there we go. So what this is actually our lamp, an exact copy. So now with this, we know how we actually have a small groove up here as well. I'm just gonna measure that as well, and we'll add that. The goal is here to create a good reference, so we then can build a mount around that, and we'll just make sure that this piece can slot inside. So that is 6.8 millimeters. So again, draw a sketch here, and we're gonna go. We're actually gonna go and do a square here. And we're gonna do a rectangle. So I know that that measurement is 6.8. Yeah, 6.8. And the other measurements, it's not really important. I know that it just goes down like, yeah, it's like even less than a millimeter. It's 0.5. So let's just say that this is 1 millimeter, which then makes it 0.5 since it's in the center. Are you following along here? So it's 1 millimeter there, and we get this measurement is 0.5 millimeter. So what we now have is another groove here that I can create. I'm just gonna drag that off. I think it goes all the way. Yep. So there we have it. This is our reference parts, and to be really honest, we also have like a rounded shape. I'll show here. There's the piece that we are drawing right now, and you can see the small grooves there. And it also has a radius. So let's take the whole lighter and see what it is. I guess that it's around, let's see, 45 and 45. And if it's 45 millimeter in diameter, we can assume that is, so let's see here, 45 in diameter. What is this now? Just have to think a little bit. Yep, so 45. And half of that is 22.5. That means that this is where I'm supposed to draw my 45 millimeter. No, that's not true at all. Let's just do like this. I know that it goes inside a little bit. This is just for reference, but what I'm doing now is creating a point where I can then create my circle in the center, which should be, sorry, this shouldn't be, it should be 20.5. So we get in the center, and now we create a 45 millimeter diameter. And this now is something that we can, if we want to, extrude. We'll just join it together. So this is now our reference. These actually goes down kind of all the way, so I'm gonna push those down. I can't do that. Never mind. All right, so now we have our base reference. We have a reference of this shape. And what I want to do now is to create a sketch actually because now I want to create like the holder for it. So I want to create a new sketch, and I'm actually going to reference it to this shape over here. So that means that I can now draw here, draw the same lines, I want to do some sort of mount here that goes, should go all the way, I guess. Let's see here. Just gonna double check everything, but that looks good. And we can then also start to draw outwards the actual little like strength part of this holder. Let's go with something like that. I know I'm drawing in a strange dimension here, but now we have a shape. And again, as I said before, let's just create a small little line here along the axis. We'll click on mirror. We'll select the shapes here. We can actually double click to get a little bit of help. And it should have more edges here that I can select. Let's see. And there's the mirror line. Awesome. Now we have a shape that we can extrude. So let's just go over there, and we want to create a new body. So that means that they won't intersect with each other. Whoops, we forgot a little surface down there. So while I'm using the tool, I can click on a control to select another surface. So there you see, we get everything. All right, great. And what we can do now is that I probably forgot. So what you can see now is that I made a mistake here. I actually accidentally joined those together, but what I can do now is that I go down in the history and I can edit this feature. So down here you can see all the different extrudes I've done. So you can see the different shapes. So this one is the latest one. I will click edit feature, and you see here now that I can stop the join and actually make a new body, just like I wanted. And now we get two bodies here. I'm going to rename the first one here to reference. Well, this one is workpiece. I know, bad naming, but anyway, I'm going to hide the reference now. Almost, at least. So there we go. So hiding the reference allows me to look at this piece, and we can now start to do working with this one. So maybe we want to add, for example, just a little bit of chamfers. I'm not sure what we want to do next. I guess I want to mount it on something, but I haven't really thought out what. Let's say I want to use this for filming, so I'm going to make a plate that we can then just screw onto a base plate. So with this now, we have to think that we are upside down because the light goes in like this now, and we kind of want to flip it over. So this is now the underside, and what I want to do here with this one is that I take a reference and create here a plate that we can then screw on a camera tripod adapter to. So again, in this case, we have flat surfaces that are easily to print on. So imagine if this was the bottom plate, we would have issues with overhang here because everything would go in this direction. So the easiest thing would be to print on this side, so let that be down, and we just extrude completely upwards. So to add now, I will add a thickness here. Let's say, I don't know, 10 millimeters. That's probably good. And I actually have somewhere here in my archive, I do have a reference for a camera nut, so we can place that inside as well. So somewhere here that should be probably in the camera. Could it be in accessories? Maybe not. In all reference? Maybe not. Maybe in this one? External? Here we have it. So we have a 1.4 nuts. So I'm going to insert this into the current design. It's probably going to warn me. Yeah, because I need to save this one first. So I'm going to save that in my folder here to lesson number 1. And we'll now insert this into the current design. If it loads. Again, remember, this is a very easy guide. It's almost just extrusion in 1 dimension. It's a perfect piece to start working with. Proceed. So there we see the bolt is kind of big. I'm gonna rotate it 90 degrees. Go upward. I also want to just check that it's in center. It is in center. And I know that the idea here is to make a slot for this one and then screw the base plate from above downwards into it. So we're going to move this down 3 millimeters. I think that's good thickness. Actually 4 millimeters. We have a pretty good reference here. Now what I like to do with this is that I kind of work in a special way here. So I'm gonna do a new sketch here again from the base, and I want to make it in the center of this one. So instead of using this part as cutting, I actually want to have a little bit of margin around it. So now when I created this, I can actually make a hole. So I'm gonna hide this bolt. I'm gonna open up our workpiece again. And with this sketch, I'm now going to extrude that. So I have to hide everything. I'll extrude. I'll unhide this workpiece. You can see now that we're making a hole in it again. So that's perfect. Now we've done that. Again, I will bring this back. The idea here is to, as I said, make a slot for this screw. So again, I'm gonna cut into the design here. Hide the workpiece, make sure that we get everything. Hide the bolt as well, because I don't want to cut in that. And there we go. So now we made a deeper hole. And the next part, of course, is to make space so that we can actually screw something up into this block. So we'll unhide that. I'll create a new sketch on that surface, find the center, and we'll I know that these screws are a little bit bigger, so let's say 7 millimeters in diameter, just to have a little bit of margin. Sorry about my pronunciation. Like so. We'll now extrude this inside the workpiece. That should be fine. Oops. Yeah, there we go. So here we now have everything done. I will actually try to show you here. So we put in the bolt. The bolt locks. So if this bolt tries to move, so if we try to rotate this bolt, it will hit the walls, and actually by doing this kind of slot, it will prevent it from moving. So of course it could move outwards. It could fall out this way, but this is the easiest way to just make this part printable. And if I now realize, for example, that everything is a little bit wide or is it a little bit thicker, I can start to do changes. But in this case, I feel that we are more or less done. And I'm gonna just try to show you exactly what I mean here with the screw. The idea here is to have, I know that this screw isn't the right size, but let me just show what I want to do with it. So it's not the right size, but the idea here is to have, again, just place it. I'm gonna make a new box here. So imagine this is a camera plate that are that fits into your tripod. Now it would never look anything close to this. Let's just imagine that it does. Hide the workpiece. Usually camera plates are like, have these chamfers and stuff. Anyways, so the idea here now is that this piece that I just made, it will slot on the reference parts, in this case my light, and I can then slot that onto this base piece, which is this piece, and we can then tighten a camera plate, which is the blue one here, towards it by just inserting a bolt. Okay, so now we're done with the drawing. Just a quick way of thinking on how to do that. I will hide my references, hide my reference, and we're now ready to print. What you can do if you want to is to just think a little bit here. So this is the base plate. This is the plate that I imagine is towards the build plate, and then we'll build upwards with our printer and hit the holes here. And usually the holes are quite okay, but since they are on the side, there's a little chance that the top will top down. So I usually do them a little bit bigger, so even if the top goes down, there's enough space, especially in this case where the hole is just to let the screw go through, so we can then tighten the bolt. Speaking of the bolt is then inside, and you can see here on the two sides that it has a little bit of margin, but it will, when it turns, so let's again turn it. When this turns, there will be, it will not be able to do that, so it will actually self-tighten, or rather the thumb screw will tighten up here. So this concludes the first kind of lesson, the build along, or I kind of show you how I think when I'm building stuff. And in this case, I didn't really have a plan from the beginning, so that's why I added a bigger size. But otherwise, I would always start off with the biggest shape and work my way down into the piece. So I add these sketches that I was talking about, and I try to work in only extrusion in one dimension. Of course, I could add details here. Let's just say that I want to add, I don't know what I want to add, but I could add details. We can select both of these edges, for example. We can round them off a little bit if we want to do that. I don't know why we would, but let's do that. And yeah, I think that's it. So again, I know that the whole piece here is oriented a little bit weird. Maybe I can just move that around so it's easier for you guys to understand. But the idea here is that when we print in this dimension, we can start printing on this surface, and we'll build upwards and we'll end up here. And there's no overhangs except for the hole here, which is totally okay. Any printer will do that, especially when we have quite small dimensions. This is only 23 millimeters wide, and what we can do here, of course, is to just check some of the measurements here. Let's see, how far are we there? We are 1.8 millimeters, perfect. And I know that if we really want to simulate like how a printer works, we usually use 0.4 millimeter nozzles, and we can do a 0.2 millimeter radius here, just to show kind of how the final shape will be inside our printer, because the printer can't really do sharp edges since it has a round nozzle. As you can see here, it still works perfectly fine, even though the edges will be rounded a little bit. That doesn't matter in the end. Anyways, first lesson concluded. This file will be uploaded, I guess, so that you can kind of do this Sigma Lightster. If you have one of those, you want to use them on your I don't know, camera, filming, YouTube thingy, you can do that. Or if you just want to write yourself, I don't know why I'm doing that. I don't know why. But here you have it, first small lesson. Hopefully this gives you a little bit of questions, and hopefully we can evolve this series into building more advanced stuff. Again, I'm going to show you the tools I'm using. If you want to see exactly what each tool do, I think it's much better to check out the Fusion 360 from Autodesk channel, where they actually go through all the tools, so you can learn in your own speed. But here I want to show you my way of thinking, and at least what I think, a good way of making parts fairly easy, fairly quickly. I'm not going to win any design awards with these pieces. They are purely functional, and usually that is what you need. You need something quick, functional, and just to solve a problem maybe. So I'm going to print this one as well, and I'll just upload it to Twitter or something, or maybe my website, so you can see it later. But this is the guide, and this is the finished piece. What we can do is we can click 3D print, and we can see how it will become a STL file. So I think that's all. I hope you enjoyed this small video. Let me know in the comments if there's anything you want to change, if you want to have it quicker, slower, faster, more tools, less tools. And again, remember, subscribe if you want to have like the next step here. This is the first lesson. I'm gonna go more advanced, do more complex stuff, start with assembly, start with working with more components and stuff like that. So we'll grow this together, so everyone can come along and follow the educational curve. So this is the first video. Stay tuned for lesson 2 coming shortly. Bye.